Hello guys, Josh MC2000 here, and today I have a video on Red Hood and the Outlaws Annual 2. Just came out yesterday, which was the 29th of August. And we have him reuniting with Arsenal, which is pretty awesome. Now, one thing I'm gonna say is this was not what I expected. This issue is not what I expected at all. Some good, some bad. First bad, right off the bat. Just gonna get the negatives out of the way so we can focus on the good things. The design for Red Hood, I still hate this design. It's the same that was used in New 52. I still hate it. It's the helmet. The helmet just doesn't do it for me. It's the whole nose and like engraved mouth and everything into the helmet. It just doesn't do it for me. It's so much more intimidating when it's just the normal plain helmet. And also it just the idea is his gear is functional. It's not really massively sophisticated, so like having it like all stuff carved into it, it just doesn't seem right. Arsenal's design, definitely an improvement over New 52. Haven't seen him that much because he's been in Green Arrow and Titans. I don't really I think Titans, either that or Teen Titans with Corey. I haven't read any Titans or Teen Titans outside of Lazarus Contract, which was a tie-in for Deathstroke. That's pretty much all I've read of those characters. So, yep, this is the first time I've seen this design for Roy. Works. I personally really like the arrow design. He has an arrow with the hood and yeah, but what can you do, that aside, the only other bad I have is the villain they picked. Do you remember when I talked about New 52 Red Hood and Outlaws, and I kind of said they used a lot of new created throwaway villains? Well, one of the new created throwaway villains that he shot in the first volume, put gun to head, bang, pull trigger, shot in the head. She's back, kinda back. I don't see why, but it's not what I expected, because the first hang on, let me count these pages. 1, 2, not counting that because that's an ad. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. The first 9 pages are Arsenal taking care of Jason. After that, it changes and they go after these criminals. I think they're basically supposed to be Yakuza, but pretty much it. Yeah, first 9 or so pages. And it's like, well, that's what I expected the whole book to be. He was supposed to be really badly banged up, He was supposed to be leading into 26, He wasn't supposed to just be recovered like that, spare set of gear, on his way, to be honest, when 26 comes out, I might decide just to ignore this thing's existence. I don't know. Depends how much this... But then again, there are some good things in this that I do not want to ignore, because they address some very good points in the relationships between the old Outlaws, which is Starfire, Jason, and Roy. Sadly, no Rose. I would have liked to see Rose's take on what happened to him with Batman. I have a feeling she'd probably be steaming at the ears. Just saying. Because the way Slade treated her as a kid in previous incarnations wasn't exactly brilliant. So seeing Batman do the same to one of his sons would pretty much be like, alright, say the word and I'm gonna go kick his shit in. But and I think that would have been interesting, because all of these two don't appear to address the issue with that. They just seem to be more concerned, is Jason physically okay? They don't appear to address the issue. I mean, Roy tries to address the issue of like what happened with Batman, and he just gets this really filthy look off his friend. It's like, you sure seemed like you did when I had to pull the big guy off you back in Gotham. You're lucky Batman didn't knock your head clean off. And then he just gets this filthy look, and it's like, too soon. Okay. And basically, one thing I liked is they're back at the old downed Tamaranian ship on the island from the first issue of Red Hood and Outlaws. I always liked the idea of that being their base, like a downed alien craft that belonged to Starfire, basically serving as a makeshift base in an island in the middle of nowhere. Doesn't come up on any maps. Some stuff set up on the island to make it so it doesn't come up on like scanners or anything. You know, so basically when they get back to this island, they just vanish. So they basically have this this place where they can stay and they can rest and recuperate without fear of, like, I don't know, Superman coming down on their head or something. I always kind of like that idea, even though Superman did show up on the island, but, you know, that was a bad example. But, you know, say without, like, Batman or Green Arrow coming and harassing them, you know, gives them somewhere where they can go and have some breathing room, which I always kind of liked, because it's a bit like, yeah, also it's a fairly unique setup. I mean, like, most of the other like, you know, you have the Watchtower, you have the Batcave, they're all really high-tech bases, whereas, you know, this ship is barely working, it's barely holding together. Okay, yeah, the technology's advanced, but it could blow up and break at any time. It's not reliable, you know. I mean, Jason even remarks in this, he's surprised the door still works when he goes into the one room, and that leads on nicely to the next part, which is the things I like. I liked the Outlaw Island setup. It's very good, always has been good. It's a unique concept for a hideout, for some vigilantes. Also, I just think it would be a really cool shot to see them going up on a speeder bike from like Gotham Bay or something, and just disappearing off over the horizon and then arriving at this island. You know, I'm not sure if it would be Gotham. I'm not entirely sure where it is geographically in DC. I mean, it's never addressed, which is kind of the point. You know, it's supposed to be somewhere where they can just go vanish. But anyway, he has a conversation with this. Well, not really a conversation. It's kind of a one-sided thing. It's a recorded message from Starfire that she's left him, and he, like, you know, the thing is, she's left it to try and make him feel better, but because of what's happened recently with Batman, it just hurts. Like, she says, "I'm sorry I'm not here to welcome you, with whatever, no, I'm sorry I'm not here to help you with whatever problems have brought you back here, Jason, but you should always feel like you are among family." And Jason just, like, looks, and he's got a bit of a sweaty eye. You know, yeah, sweaty eye. He's not crying. Sweaty eye, alright? And he's like, then he sits down, like, behind the hologram, and he's like, "'Cause I'm so good at being part of a family," like, you know. You can tell that got to him, because it's like, he's just had his adopted father beat 10 shades of shit out of him for something that really is kind of petty, and that we all thought as an audience he was over anyway. But and, like, you know, you have that nice little interaction with the Starfire hologram. It's a shame Starfire wasn't there in person. I would have liked it to be there in person to talk to him, you know, maybe do a little bit of the soul searching and the healing that she did in volume 1 of New 52, with her, like, you know, kind of like the example of the fire not supposed to be there, you know. It's very similar to that scene. I would have liked to see that again, because Starfire is always a character that Jason can talk to, and kind of like, she's probably the Actually, I'm gonna say this. Starfire is probably the only person that's ever given Jason any effective therapy that works. Like, all the doctors in Arkham failed. One random alien that plucked him out of the sea after he nearly got blown up. Yeah, that she can get through to him. Okay. Yeah. But, you know, and that's also addressed. He does actually reference the fact that how Jason ended up here in the first place. Little connectors to the old team and the old story, which I don't really mind that much. Rebirth was a soft reboot. It's not completely reset everything, so I do like the fact that we're starting to see the old team and like references to the old team, so it still has an effect. I mean, whereas unlike Deathstroke, that just seems to have chucked away most of Deathstroke, from what I've read, appears to have chucked away most of New 52. I don't know if that was to do with the poor sales numbers, possibly, but we'll see. And then we have, like, we go to Roy talking to Waylon, Killer Croc, which I actually really like this, because it's a bit like, you know, why are you trying to help your friend when you can't even help yourself right now? You need to go and get help, you know. Worry about your friend when you're in a condition to help him, you know. And it's a bit like Waylon ends the conversation by saying this may be the only good thing he's done with his life, and it's been an honor. And, you know, that, I think the whole theme of this book basically is relationships between characters, and I think that's why it kind of suffers when you've got this stuff later on. But we also have him trying to find Arsenal and Bizarro, and it kind of says there's nothing, they don't exist in the known multiverse, there's nothing. So it's kind of having to accept, and Arsenal's doing this thought monologue about accepting the things you can change and accepting the things you can't, which, and then, like, about the 9th or so page in, he's back up and about, he's ready to go. So him and Roy go on a plane to a kind of a building. It's got mafia, it's got Yakuza, it's got any kind of gangsters in it, and they're all operating under one roof, in an agreement that they'll behave themselves, and they'll divide up territories equally as long as they behave as part of this overall group. But before we talk about that, I just want to talk about this this one-page scene on the airplane that just speaks volumes. I mean, just so far we've had like scenes that are just a handful of pages, and they just say so much to the relationships between the two characters. I mean, this whole page is just basically Jason apologizing. Is a bit like, you know, he doesn't feel like he's been there for his friend, and like, you know, he feels like he's been so wrapped up in himself, he's forgotten about his friend. He hasn't helped his friend. And Roy's like, honestly, you know, I fell off the wagon a few times, and I felt like calling you. I felt like I let you down. And then he interrupts him after he says, I feel like I let you down. And he's like, that's not possible. And he puts his hands on his shoulder and he's like, you know, you're the bravest guy I've ever known. If anyone gets knocked down and gets back up, it's you. You're the one who keeps on getting back up. And then Roy just takes his drink and is like, to getting back up? And Jay's like, every time. And they just kind of have this really... These two have two really good moments as friends in this book, and it's just really well written. It speaks volumes to the kind of writing that these two can, like, I mean, yeah, okay, everyone poked fun at the fact that in New 52, Jason just begrudgingly put up with this guy. It was very much, yeah, he was there, Jason didn't want him to be there. But, you know, they are friends. And it's like, you know, this is kind of dealing with the fact that, like, yeah, they may not be the best of friends at times, but, you know, they are best friends. They're always there for each other, you know. And, it's talking about that. And then next, we have them dealing with, I mean, As I said, I'm not a massive fan of this old... They've brought back the old New 52 design a couple of times, and I think it's when they've had this one guy doing the art, and I think it's because the other guy is busy doing 26, so he's ended up doing this issue, and it's just, you know, while this thing is, 26 is still being worked on, and the annual comes out the week before 26. So you need to have two separate teams doing the art, even though Scott is still doing the writing. I think it's Scott Lobdell, and it is Lobdell, I know that much. Whether it's Scott Lobdell is beyond me. But anyway, basically they brought back Susie Sue, the villain from the first volume of New 52. Kinda sucks really, because it was one of Jason's confirmed kills in canon. Now it isn't. That's one less person he's actually killed, which kind of makes it look less like he's actually doing what he's saying to Bruce, but you know, whatever. And then they get in the elevator, and like Jason like looks at these women that have got in with them, and he's very suspicious. And he's like, "You got my helmet?" And he's like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Give it me now." And you kind of get this moment where it's like, yeah, they're all looking very tense, very suspicious at each other in this lift. And he's like, Roy's like, "Does anyone else smell gun oil, or is it just me?" Like he says jokingly. And then the next thing you see is they're falling out on the roof, knocking 10 shades out of each other. And it's just like, this brings up one big issue I've had with both Rebirth and New 52 for the Red Hood character. The way they've handled Red Hood. This pre-52 Red Hood was always consistent. He always had pretty much, you know, he's gonna work like this, you know this is his end goal, and you know these are his skills, these are his traits, this is how he does things, and this is what he can handle, you know. But in New 52 and Rebirth, it's been up and down like a yo-yo. I mean, 1 second he beats Ra's al Ghul one-on-one. Next second, he can't beat 4 girls in a lift when he's got a friend helping him out. I mean, okay, yeah, they have numbers and it's a confined space, but you're talking about someone who trained with Talia al Ghul. Jeez. It bugs me that consistency's all over the place, and it's the same complaint I had with the Batman fight in last issue. But yeah, this issue's supposed to be more fun and more lighthearted and focusing on the relationships. And depending on what type of reader you are, it's either going to be really jarring because you've gotten used to the tone of the last few issues, or it's going to be really refreshing. It's like, phew, okay, we're taking a break from all that dark, you know, storytelling. We're having a bit of a break from all the serious stuff. Phew, breathe. Whereas, oh wait, I've actually just noticed something. I thought that was actually a really clever duck. Okay, never mind. He ducked, and she ended up stabbing her friend, and then she ended up shooting. Because the thing is, it didn't look like very, yeah, still, whatever. It's just that whole fight just seems pretty meh. To be honest, if it was up to me, I would have changed it. I would have changed the guys they were going up against. I would have had Jason a bit more beat up still. I would have had him, like, maybe before he puts on his gear, you see him and he's still got a black eye. He's still maybe got a cut on his lip or something. Something that lets you know he's not 100%. So then when he proceeds to not do as well against opponents that are pretty much average, you know, he, you know, it's understandable. It's like, you know, the guy's at 25% at best. He's just been beaten to pieces by Batman, you know. I can understand that, but it's like, it's the way they presented it. They presented it as if, oh yeah, he's healed back up now, he's good. And then he's not on par with previous performances. And it's like, well, okay, he's obviously not 100%, you know. You could have done something like that to easily address that. I mean, hell, maybe even in the lift, just have it where it's like, oh, my shoulder. Like, you know, just like something that kind of lets you know he's not 100%. Or like when he's walking into the hospital, just have him do that to his shoulder, like a bit, you know, still not 100%. You know, just let us know he's not 100%, and then we'll be a bit like, okay, yeah, that's why these 4 girls were able to beat him in Arsenal. Because, I mean, Arsenal's a marksman. I don't really think he's that great at hand-to-hand combat. So, him and Jason in a lift fighting 4 very skilled hand-to-hand combatants that have got, like, knives, knuckle dusters. Like, you know, I can understand Roy not coming off so well in that situation, but Jason, unless he's injured or ill, I don't see why he should struggle with that. But, as I said, that would be something that could have easily have been fixed. And it creates a bit of a tonal issue, as I've said, but never mind. Moving on to the last part of the book now, where you have this really good goodbye between 2 friends, and you think it's really serious, and you think they're gonna kind of go separate ways really bitter. It's like, Roy's a bit like, look, you know, Jay, you know, I've been speaking to Waylon, I need to go, and there's this place that does rehab for masks, and I need to go, and I was just wondering, you've been through a lot, will you think, you know, would it help you, you know, do you want to come with? And he's a bit like, you know what I think rehab's for quitters. And then they just stare at each other blankly for a few seconds. And then they start laughing their heads off, and they're just like, you know, and it's a bit like, you should have seen your face. And like, it's a bit like, you know, and it's like, if you wonder why everyone hates you, don't. And like, it's a bit like, my family at least had to put up with me, but you don't. You're the idiot who chose me to be your best friend, you know. And it's a bit like, see, so I need therapy, like, you know, and it's a really good way to do their relationship, because Jason's the straight-laced one, Roy's the not-so-straight-laced, so take advantage of that. Have Jason do a joke where he's very straight-faced and stern, but yet Roy knows it's a joke, because it's a bit like, yeah, there's no way Jay Bird would say that to me, like, you know, he doesn't mean that, you know. And, like, you know, just the look on Roy's face, like, the way it drops, and it's like, just, yeah. That kind of humour works. And, I mean, at the end of the issue, you get a little bit of an update of what's going on with Bizarro and Artemis. Artemis is drawn really well here. What is up with Bizarro's face, though? Again, I think it's because you've changed the artist from the one who's normally on Rebirth. Also, another thing to note is Red Hood and like, these panels look a lot brighter than normal. I mean, these fights as well. I mean, if I compare them to like a few issues ago where the lighting was really moody, you know, and this guy always does like something with faces. I just can't. This artist, I mean, I'm pretty sure they're 2 different artists, because they're 2 completely different styles. I will be back in a minute. See this one? Here we are. Look at the way the lighting is done in this. And look at the way the body type's drawn and stuff. It's like, you know, Penguin. It's done completely differently to like this. and like say this. I mean, you can tell it's two different artists. So you know, I've never been hot on this guy's art. I mean, it's not bad. It's just I think tonally it doesn't fit. It's too bright. I mean, like if it was a Nightwing book, then hell yeah, I'd be down for that. But it's not a Nightwing book. And you know, just overall, it's really good. I mean, it's not amazing, but it's good. You know, it's good. I mean, it leaves me with a few questions about 26. It's like, if he has a spare and he's got it, why does he need the new suit? But I imagine those are answers 26 will answer when we get 26 next week. So, speaking of which, when we get 26 next week, I will have another video up. Also, between then, I will try and do a video on the new Punisher #1, World War Frank Part 1, I believe it's called. And also maybe Old Man Hawkeye and maybe G.I. Joe Special Mission Scarlet. Depends. We'll see how things go. Next week could be a little tricky because I'm starting college. I will do an update video on that shortly. But I hope you guys have enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next one. Goodbye.